Mr. Grider, how are you doing, sir?
Hey Albert, how's the East Coast treating you since you moved out there?
I love it. I love it. I
It,
have to say, it's the Southern hospitality is a real thing.
I agree with you, right? That is Southern hospitality, right? I know the weather that gets more humid there, but my brother lives in Roanoke, Virginia, and I visited him a few months ago. And every restaurant people are talking to, it's just off the street and it's nice, going to help you.
Yep.
Um, and do I think I live in Northern California. It's not quite like that, but everybody's nice. It's just that you're more just stick to yourselves. You're not out as outgoing, just meeting people, and it's refreshing. I agree with you 100%. Right? I think we need more of that environment where we're really helping each other out, talking to them, being a good neighbor, right, so to speak. I mean, I love that.
That's it. That's it. It's just everyone here is very neighborly and everyone's welcoming and they're always like, "Oh, welcome. Glad to have you here." I mean, and it's not just talk, like it's genuine,
Yeah, no,
and
they mean it. Hey,
yeah,
dude, hey, you
Yeah.
thirsty? I'll get you a glass of lemonade. Man, they actually do that. Let me go get it for you, and they
tea is
will.
tea is the big deal. Sweet tea.
Yeah, iced tea.
Sweet
Okay,
tea.
but it's a sweet tea, right? That's too many calories for me at my age. But can I get the unsweetened tea?
Yeah.
Anyway, we start another webinar here, and so it's great. DSCR seems to be a theme, and we'll talk a little bit about that today, huh, Albert? So let's just take it away.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Well, hey guys, well, welcome. Thank you guys for having here with us at another wonderful webinar here with HomeXpress. So really excited about this subject, right? As DSCR and HomeXpress. But hey, most importantly is that, listen, we didn't invent DSCR, right? But we did redefine it, right? So with that, we always want to thank you for your participation. So here's some of the things that we're going to be discussing today with you. We'll be talking about a little bit about history about the DSCR program. We'll talk a little bit about some national trends. And obviously, we're going to discuss some scenarios, some things that we have seen come across our desk here at Home Express. So with us today, our note speaker is going to be Mr. Carl Grimes, who is who is one of our regional sales managers here with Home Express. Our guest speaker is going to be Mr. David Grider, who is our Senior Vice President of Sales, and your host, myself, Albert Martinez, and I am your corporate sales trainer here at Home Express. So with that, Mr. Grider, I hand it over to you, sir.
All right, thank you. First of all, just thank everybody here that's on this call, or those that maybe not able to attend that are in our industry. I mean, I just look at some of the obstacles we've had the last 4 years with everything going on, from 21, the low rates, and then the higher rates, and dealing with the market that we're dealing with, the global political environment. And every day, our value is to help our borrowers and our clients get into that home for their families, refinance to meet their financial needs. And I appreciate that value you guys have out there day in and day out, even when it's a little bit more challenging. We all know this goes in cycles. It just seems like this cycle has been going along a way. So first of all, as we go through this presentation that Carl's going to do, please put any question you have, and it could be on anything. It could be on scenarios you have, other programs, the industry itself, and I'll address those at the end. So keep that in mind as we go through it. Now, as Carl starts, one thing I was kind of reviewing this with him a little bit was, man, going back through the history. I've been a non-QM since really infancy. In 2015, I started. I've been with Home Express over 10 years, and kind of seen how this non-QM has really blossomed over the last few years, right, into a major segment of most LO's portfolio that they have to offer out there. And I think that's going to increase. And so DSCR is a big part of that. So if you need any questions on it, please put it on there. If you don't ask, someone else probably the same question not putting in there. Love to address that with you. So with that, I think we'll take it over to Carl, unless Albert's got some type of poll for us.
Oh, Mr. Grider, I know
That's
how much
right.
you like those polls, and I want to make sure I'm ready to go. So
Okay,
yeah, so as
I
we're
love it.
talking about so we're mentioning Mr. Grider, as far as like their, the segment of their business. I mean, we're kind of curious to know, right? So, tell us a little bit about what, your how much DSCR business have you done in this year? Have you done 0 to 5 loans? Have you done 6 to 10 loans? Or hey, listen, 10 plus, right? And that's precisely what we like. Home Express, We love DSCR. We love bank statement loans. So tell us a little bit about the type of business that you're doing right now.
I think it's going to be 6 to 10 or 10 plus. I think that's most, but I'd love to see those at 0 to 5 on here. Maybe gain a little
Yeah,
bit more information,
absolutely.
a little more confidence with it as we go through this. But that'd be my guess. I think it's a program we get a lot of units in every month, and so I know it's out there.
Here we go. So let's go ahead and let's end the poll and let's share this result. So 66% is 0 to 5. So great.
Wow. I'm
Welcome.
Wow.
surprised. This is the call for
Let's
you
go.
then. So we can
Yeah,
go through the
absolutely.
history. So great. And please, that's what it put down your questions as we go through this. We don't hit it here. I'll address individual questions at the end. So Carl, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you very much, David. I appreciate that. Albert, y'all, thank you all for being here today, as David said. And as David mentioned, we want to talk about a little bit of program history, right? All right. What is DSCR? Debt service coverage ratio, right? And it's been going on in the commercial business for decades. It was just recently adopted. Well, it's hard to believe how far away we are from the 2008 crisis, but it's fairly recent. My hair wasn't quite as gray back then, but it is now. But David, tell me, what do you remember those days, those financial
I
crisis
try to
days?
forget them, Carl. That's it. I've been doing this for 35, oh gosh, probably getting close to 34 years in the
Yeah,
manual underwriting space. So I've seen a lot of ups and downs. I was talking to someone the other day and they talked about interest rates, and I was ecstatic when I first bought my home. The interest rate was 13 and a half. So that's how old I go back, right?
yeah,
13.5 interest rate. But when you look at this, there's segments of the business that were really underserved after that. Every
yes,
loan had to go conventional or government, and you had a lot of borrowers, whether they're self-employed, tax but they had heavy cash flow, and investors that they had to go to other sources to get those. They still did. They just went to private money, a lot more expensive terms, balloon payments, points. And so this product really has developed to help a lot of those investors, help them out in their cash flow, and part of their portfolio of their investments.
yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to put that. Yeah, I remember those 2008 days and after, and I'm with you. I don't really want to remember that, but thank you so much for the insight on that. Albert, next, please. So again, what does the option do? What this does with the DSCR is it opens up because it's designed for real estate investors to kind of build a portfolio. And what are we looking at? It's just the income that the property generates on its own. You have to have a good credit score, right? We want a decent credit score, but this is an excellent way and an excellent program for investors to build their portfolio. Next, please. So calculating how to do the DSCR, it's really simple. I mean, you don't need a math degree to figure it out. It's basically gross rents, and we divide it with the PITI, and then is divided into the DSCR. What we're trying to do is determine, hey, do they have a typically 1% or higher DSCR? That's what we're looking at. We have a program that will go a little lower, but it's real easy to figure out. Next, please. And they're so popular. Why? Because, you go get an FHA loan, a conventional loan. It's a lot of paperwork. There are tax returns, pay stubs, VOEs, different things like that. Not on this. We're strictly looking at the debt coverage ratio and the property they're purchasing. As long as they meet the credit standards, we're able to move forward. That's exactly what we're able to do for you. Next, please. So the residential investor overview for 2025, as you can see here, investors bought more properties than they sold in 2025. That's a big swing and a big differential. And David, would you mind expanding on that a little bit to kind
Yeah,
of give everybody a view
here's
here?
what I've kind of noticed over the last, let's like 2 years or 18 months, and it's
Right.
more of a buy hold type
Yeah.
of investor today than previously. I think the ROI on the fix and flips, they kind of looked at that versus inflation, everything. Now they're looking at deals where they can purchase a home, and put, kind of fixed up to get market rents. and then saying, hey, that cash flow works. So I got enough cash flow to cover my total mortgage payment. That works for me. And also, I think that's going to continue for a couple reasons. One is like, if I'm a kind of investor with cash and I want to diversify, by the way, that most financial planners suggest that, which I'm not, but I'll just tell you that, is they tell you it's like you want some stocks, bonds, commodities. Real estate's a pretty good investment to have part of your portfolio too, right?
Yeah.
And so if I
Oh,
looked at the
absolutely.
stock market today, I'd say, hey, to me, just my opinion, it looks a little frothy. A lot of it, right? And so where else can you get some maybe a return on your investment that's kind of into a real estate more fixed asset? You can do it this way and then build on that for your retirement or pass it on to others. But I think it's a good way that people diversify, giving as they're going forward. I think you're going to see more of that type of style, buy and hold, look for that going into the future.
Thank you. I appreciate that, David. Next, please. So as again, to kind of reiterate what Dave was talking about, you can see where the growth has been in the investor activity. Really nice is the small investors seem to be the dominant force behind that, which that's great when you're an LO because I'm sure most, if not all of you, work with real estate agents. I guarantee you they all have a pocket full of investors that are looking for great terms to buy their next investment property. Next, please. So again, we did not invent the DSCR, but we did refine it. And we started into this segment of the business as a company 10 years ago in the non-QM space, and we've been doing this with our Investor X program for years. We really have been extremely successful. We want to pass that on to those of you that aren't using us. We will allow the business up to a $2.5 million loan, which is phenomenal. Next, please. We're having a oh, thank you so much. I thought I unplugged my computer again.
Is this April 1st?
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
it.
Okay, and
All
that
right.
wraps it up. No.
No.
So as I said, we didn't invent the SER, we refined it. There's several bullet points here that I'm gonna let you all digest on your own. I promise no quiz or anything after, but as you can see, the minimum score is 620. Loan amounts, as I said, up to 2.5 million. What's really nice here is we will use the 1007 or a 1005. Lease agreements aren't required. Now, there's a whole nother twist behind how we can use those. I'd be happy to have one of our AEs reach out and explain that to you a little bit more, or put that in the chat. What is really nice is 10 days source and season for funds to close, right? We capture a lot of business in that. In fact, I have one of my LOs, pardon me, AEs who called me today. He was actually on vacation, called me today. He goes, hey, I have a new one coming in. This is exactly why I captured that loan. Also, we do first time home buyers on the DSCR program, and it's okay. Now, if Johnny is buying a house next to mom and dad as an investment property, we're going to be a little concerned about what we call reverse occupancy. So as I was meeting yesterday with the head of underwriting, they always want to know the why. Why would that be the case? So remember, we're going to look at everything case by case, but it's extremely important that we look at everything across the board. Next, please. So I think the biggest key here to understand is we will do DSCR down to 7.75. We're going to take a haircut on the LTV. Of course we are. But just remember, this type of loan will help you build your loan base and help you gain and retain real estate agents that you're working with. These are non-trid loans because they're business loans. So the LE and the CD can go out the same day. We'll do a cash out on the property as long as it's for business purposes, and we want a very well defined letter of explanation for that. Nice thing is we will allow it to vest in a business entity. A lot of our competition won't allow that, so we absolutely do. But what's really nice is that if you're licensed, for example, in state of Florida, you can actually go to multiple states that will allow business purposes only. And we'll illustrate that on the next slide to help gain your portfolio without being licensed MLS in that state. Next, please. So as you can see, we have a huge footprint. We are uh, pretty much approved in every state, but take a look at the business purpose loan only in the dark blue there. This is an area where if you're living in Florida and want to do loans in Texas on the DSCR program, you can absolutely do that without being licensed there. So David, do you want to expand on this a little bit?
No, sure. I love to. I'm glad you pointed out the big footprint. I mean, 46 states and the District of Columbia, and we're trying to expand eventually to all states. But we've had a lot of LOs and a lot of our partners take this and market, no matter what their location is, into other states for the business purpose loans, right? And marketing to investors, real estate agents, and be able to gain more business that way. So it's a great tool for you to kind of strategize. Is that something you want to do? I think you get a great example. Texas and Florida seem to be more populated states, so you can get a little bit more volume off of that versus Wyoming, so to speak, right? But keep in mind that you can really strategize that and put a marketing plan for yourself to help you capture more business going forward. They just come in from you, great. It's a state that you're not licensed in. Business purpose, we can do that if they're in the dark blue. The one in light blue, the state requires you to have an NMLS.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate that. Next, please. So this is kind of a self-explanatory slide, but I think it's important because it helps illustrate, again, our property types, what we will allow. And the nice thing about that is we're again showing the vesting, business entity or individual. Now, keep in mind, we will obviously do these on non-permanent resident aliens, permanent resident alien, and foreign nationals. That's a great way to expand your business beyond what your typical loan customer would be. You think outside the box. Next, please. So here's a calculation again for what we're looking at for long-term rent, and then we also have short-term rent. So as you can see, we offer both, and this is, as David mentioned, you've got a lot of areas in the country, Florida being one of them, Texas being another one, anything up the coast. There's short-term rentals. We have a program available through that. You can actually do that through our DSCR short-term rental program. So that's just, again, something to put in your quiver, as they say, as you're out there marketing yourself to help real estate agents expand their business. Next, please. So what are our max LTVs? Well, I will promise you I'm not going to quiz you on this later but you keep your eyes focused on DSCR. You can see in that panel that we will go up to 80%. You can see where we are on what the score requirement is, but we will go up to 2.5 million. We absolutely underwrite and continue to approve our own loans. So these are our guidelines, and I'll expand on that a little bit more later. Next, please. So I think it's important that you're looking at these and you're saying, well, gee, you're telling me what we can do, or this is what you have. Give us some juice. Well, here's a real scenario that one of my LOs ran by our DSCR, our scenario desk. And as you can see, got a daughter purchasing her mother's home. They wanted a gift of equity. And could we use seller concessions? Guess what? We allow that. We had a 10% haircut on the LTV. And so we were down to 70, and we will allow the gift of the seller concessions to help pay closing costs. We were able to capture this deal as a result of that. Next, please. So 5-day DSCR, this is a question that came in. So the property, as you can see, was actually 2 buildings. One was a 4, one was a 2 unit. And we would consider that as a 6-unit property as long as the legal description states that. And we would leave that up to the appraiser with the title report to explain that. But this, again, was another loan that we were able to grab as a result of our flexibility. Next, please. Property season. This is a huge one, and we capture a lot of business this way. And I think it's important because what we're looking at, as you can see, we had somebody purchase property for 5,500. It was about 2 or 3 months ago, and they did $60,000 worth of rehab. So what we will allow, as long as it is tenant occupied, we will allow 75% based on the new appraisal. Now, granted, what we're going to want to see is perhaps some before and after pictures. We're going to see where the property value increase is, and typically our partners are excellent at providing that information. So this is something that one of my LOs or AEs was able to capture, and amazingly, we're getting this one to the table probably in the next couple weeks. Next, please. So with everything, we have red flags, right? I wish everything just came in, it was smooth, things we didn't look at. But I want to keep in mind that we at HomeXpress Mortgage, what we do is we underwrite to our guidelines that we wrote. These are ours. We have flexibility. We look at everything on a common sense, and more importantly, we lend our own money. So there's nobody on the back end that we have to send an appraisal in. Well, hey, can we fund on this? If we approve it, we're going to fund it. It's our loan. But keep in mind a couple things that we're really not that overly crazy about, right? So we really want to make sure that people aren't using these to circumvent TRID loans. Remember Johnny buying the house 2 doors down from his parents? That one we're going to really take a hard look at. Builder loans. Those are considered bailouts. We're not really interested in that. So these are just some things that we look at. We look at everything, but if you have the best thing to do when you're talking to your account executive, they are going to ask you the why. Why is this? Why is that? Be prepared to answer the question. And keep in mind, we will help you structure these deals. Maybe you haven't thought of some of the questions. We'll help you with that. Next, please.
Carl,
Yes,
great
sir.
information. That was amazing.
Thank you.
We talked about scenarios, we talked about some red flags, but speaking of scenarios and possible reds, right? Hey, how about we ask the masses what do they think about this upcoming scenario, right? Who do you think is going to win the World Cup, right? Let's talk about that, right? Is it going to be Argentina? Repeating champion? Do you think it'll be Switzerland? Do you think it'll be France, which obviously they're a top contender as well? Hey, Morocco, Spain, another one. Belgium, or hey, is it Norway? Right, first time coming in strong. Harlan is definitely he's a heck of a player. So what do the masses think? What say you, Mr. Greider?
Well, I took all these teams, put it on a dartboard, and threw a dart, and it landed on Argentina. I wish I had more expertise in this field. I don't. Is that the media just talks about Messi and Argentina? Okay, maybe that's the team. I actually think any of these teams, when you get down to the final, these 8 teams that are left, any one of them probably could win. They're that good. Depends how the ball bounces right off the head, right? So if the ball hits their head correctly and spins a certain way, passes the goalkeeper, they win. I think the teams are probably all pretty good.
It certainly helps when FIFA wants to see you in the finals.
Yeah. Money talks, right? So
the masses think Argentina.
They do.
Shocking.
Surprised, right?
Shocker.
Wow, really?
Awesome. Well, thank you for all that, Carl. We appreciate all your information. Mr. Carter, back over to you, sir.
Yeah, no, those are real interesting scenarios, Carl, that you brought out, and it just kind of reminded me. We've had webinars with our credit department on here, right? Our senior VP of credit talking about, man, we just want to see every deal that makes sense. Just run it by us, right? We're here to make deals, right? So you might think there's no way, or just, man, let us help you structure the loan. As we go through this DSCR, we talked about DSCR primarily. That's a no income file. We're basing it off the credit of the borrower and the cash flow of the property. No income docs. It's not a DTI loan. But if it is a DTI loan, believe it or not, we have a lot of ways to get that done for you as well at a better rate. So you can use bank statements. You can use assets, kind of depletion, which we call Asset Express, to help get that done. This particular thing is let you know if your preferred channel is through the non-delegated where you want to be the lender. The good news, there's no carve outs. There's lots of advantages if you're the lender, if that's what you choose to do. Just contact me. I'd love to talk to you more about that with you or your company that's out that you have there. So with that, Albert, I'm hoping we have a whole bunch of questions coming in on DSCR or anything that has to do with non-QM.
Yes, sir. We do have some questions. So Jonathan Mirabal wants to know if the units are vacant, are the rents given subject to 75% of the expected total income? Question.
That's a great question. So when you start to go to get vacant properties, right? So one is it a purchase? The purchase can be vacant. We're just going to use I'm talking DSCR, right? So on DSCR, they're purchasing a vacant property. You're just going to go by the 1007 on a SFR condo or 1025 if it's 2 to 4 units because they're obviously buying they haven't rented it out yet. Now the refinance gets a little tricky because typically you don't want to refinance a home that's vacant, right? So, but there are cases where it's vacant. Now DSCR is not using on its long-term rents. There's no haircut, believe it or not. It's just taking that rent that you're receiving, the market rents, say it's 2,000, and our total mortgage payment that Carl went over is 2,000. That's one. There's no haircut on the DSCR. That's the advantage of it, right? So of going more on the DTI side, then you do have that. And if it's a DTI loan where you're saying, hey, let's just do bank statements or even full doc or add some ass to it, now you're taking a haircut, but the haircut is only 20%. I know conventional is more 25%, so it's 80% of the gross rents as you do your thing to do your net rents.
Awesome. Thank
Hopefully
you for
that
that.
answered the question.
Yes, sir. Charles wants to know, how about nonprofit entities, trust LLCs?
Okay, so the first one that he brought up was nonprofits. Those are very challenging. So I'd say stay away from that because I'll tell you why. So these are business purpose loans, even though a nonprofit can be a form of business. I get all that. But generally, those type of properties are the way they form the nonprofits is not to do that. So the nonprofits, nope. Trust depends on the trust. Okay, and that should be so. You'd get that document. What kind of trust is it? Is it like the family trust that they have? They're putting properties in. Yes, right. Do that all the time. By the way, you can do those on consumer loans as well. LLCs, great. Corporations, great. We could do those. So just give us how you want to vest it. We do all that work internally. We have a team. They'll look at it and say, okay, this person needs to sign. Here's the vesting of it. So we set the docs up right for you and all that. So the good news, you're well taken care of, and you can provide that to your AE ahead of time, so we know how that'll work. And if it's especially when you get to trust, want to look at those ahead of time. Not it's like the family trust where that's where they put all the properties. Those are fairly easier, but you still need to find out who's got authority, who's going to sign it, and those type of things. So we can look at those.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Nicholas wants to know, can the loan be done in an LLC with members being the guarantor? And then can you email the recording? So you can address the first part of that.
Okay, yes. So LLC is very, very common. And that's been common for a long time. So why do investors want to have an LLC? Because of especially if you have multiple investment properties, 4 or 5, whatever it is, you want to. If anything happens to that property with the tenants, you want to take it away. From any lawsuits, it's just tied to that property versus you, because that's who the vested owner is. That LLC gives you more flexibility legally, right? So we do that all day, every day. I probably 10 done a day, something like that, right? Now we do request, we do have a personal guarantee, all right, on that particular scenario that's in an LLC. Right, it's typically the one that has the highest percentage of ownership in the LLC. That's very typical. And then he said something about email recording. I don't know exactly what that means.
Yeah, he's asking if we will send a copy of this presentation and a
Oh,
recording.
Okay, that's what it means. I thought it was recording the deed or
No.
something. So I'm sorry about. Yes, we'll send that out to you. Everybody that registered will get a copy of the recording and the deck. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Nicholas did ask, he had a follow up and it says, what is the max number of members in the LLC?
These were to get tricky, right? I'm saying so. You could have a lot. I mean, LLCs could have a group. When I look at that scenario, though, just be careful there are not other LLCs that own the LLC, that own the LLC. Gets very complex where you're gonna have underwriting kind of go through that to try to see what it is. So, it's not like there's a set number. I'd say it's in our guidelines, a set number. Tell us what the whys. I think it's okay. Tell us what they do, how they do it. Maybe it's a family of 10, right? That, hey, what's the 10? We formed LLCs. We're all pitching on this, and then we'll figure out how it is as a family. Okay, to me, that makes sense, right? Your brothers, sisters, mom, dad, cousins get together and say, hey, I got 20 grand. Everybody puts in 20 grand. Now that I got a couple of grand, let's buy some rental properties. I can buy that, put it in an LLC, right? Can buy that. Now, I just say when you get these layered LLCs, just be careful of that. Make sure, review that with us, before the submission. You can contact our highly trained account executive. They'll kind of go through that with you. I'm not saying no to those. We just need to understand them.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Nicholas did, he wrote another follow up and it says, a group of realtors want to be in the LLC.
A group of realtors. I mean, they potentially can. Right? Not stopping them, right? It's like it's more of does it make sense, right? That's the why. Does it make sense? Group of real estate agents know the area very well. Man, these homes are great. We can purchase them for this amount, and the cash flow will be this, and we pool our money together and do that kind of thing. That would be okay, right? Now, if and again, I can see scenarios where it gets out of control where we'd say no, right? That's what I'm saying, right? So, kind of keep that in mind. It's like it's a real estate group, it's a company, and then they have these other individuals, and it gets really complicated. Try to keep it as simple as you can. This is what they want to do, right? Boom. Group of 5 real estate agents pulling their money together and kind of decide it, and they'll put the number of shares that they own if it's a corporation, and they have all the terms of that in LLC. We'll be able to figure that out and probably move along forward with that.
So, uh, Paulo wrote a couple of questions. What is the criteria if the property is just unlisted for sale?
Well, we're going to look at that valuation pretty hard, right? So it's for sale, been for sale for 2 years and didn't sell at that price. What is the value? I think that's the first question. We know people say, no, it's not selling for the price. They're making their payments. Now I'm going to I think that's probably more likely to refinance. Well, the value probably is a little bit lower than the last list price or the lowest list price because it didn't sell for that. That's fine. And we're okay doing that loan as long as it has a 2-year prepay, right? So we're in the business and, these loans ultimately get securitized. And if they just churn them right away, like, hey, get the loan, put it for sale, pay us off, that doesn't work on our system. So as long as they say, hey, I'm pulling off the market, I'm going to keep it, for a couple years, great. We can look at that. Then there'll be a valuation concern that would have to go through our appraisal waterfall, say, hey, it was listed for this. What's the appraisal? Probably some medium there that we could work out, but it's not a no, right? So these are things we do as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And then Paulo's follow up was, what is the max LTV for foreign nationals?
Great question. I think it's 70 on a purchase. So it's 70% LTV on a purchase.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you for that. April, she's saying, I am currently doing my first DSCR. Awesome. We love to hear that. Who
Yep.
orders the appraisal? Will you pull your own credit and or will I need to upload lender tri-merge?
Man, that's a great question. I love it.
Yeah.
So on our portal, I say you hook up, Give us your information. So we're going to have an AE contact you to kind of go through this. So I'm just going to answer the questions broadly, right? So we, on the wholesale side, we are the lender. So you're just brokering it out to us. We have a portal system. The credit report should be in your name on a tri-merge, and then we reissue it, right? So it's not like it's anything different. It's a reissue of your credit report. That's right. Now, the appraisal ordering, we prefer for you to order it on our portal. I say it's preferred. Right now, it's not mandatory. And we have a list of AMCs that you pick out, whatever you want that you go, that's approved with us. And it actually speeds up the process a lot because you'll get a copy of the appraisal, get appraisal right away, and the loan goes a couple of days faster than you ordering it, uploading it. There's a lot of reports we get from that instantaneously, and it gets done. So when I look at DSCR, right, most of the loans come in, you're going to be approved, right? Because why? Because we only have a little bit of data. So we have the application, right? Here's what they want to do, investment property. Here's the credit. And everybody puts in, I think the DSCR is one. Which is probably correct because you don't know, right? Not that you have the actual lease agreements and proof of receipt that's there, but we go by either or. If it's a refinance, we can go with either or. Then we're waiting for the 1007 or rent survey back or 1025. So that's where the calculation goes. That's where you kind of look at, okay, appraisal's back, and this is where you give the account executives, okay, you're above one, great, loan works out. Hey, you're at 0.95. Okay, we can use interest only because we use interest only payment. Or you can kind of look at the loan amounts or maybe some of the things that we can do to get that over one because that's a better price in terms that the ultimate borrower has. So all that kind of stuff is done. So that's a great question, but you probably need to access our portal. Pretty intuitive. You'll like it. It's pretty easy to price the loans, submit it. All there. You can lock on our system. Everything's 24/7 access for you. You'll love our portal.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And April's mentioning that she cannot pull the previous recordings on our website. I will get with our marketing team to make sure that those recordings are there. But that they should be on our website as well as they're available on our YouTube channel. But April will make sure that you are able to access these recordings. She also did mention that she does have an AE as she has access to the portal. The loan is registered. Love to hear that. Beyond registration, if you still need assistance with the file, I mean, definitely the AE will reach out to you and make sure that everything is all nice and buttoned up for you, April.
Thank you, April. I
Yes.
love those type
Yeah.
of things. Just starting out, we're here to help you grow your business.
Okay. Yeah, she said AE has reached out to me and is good help. Okay, good. Perfect. Um, let's see here. We have Jorge who's asking what is the highest number of units that you could underwrite?
Highest number of units. So I'm thinking this is the 5 to 8. The max units we'll do is 8 units. I don't know if that or is it number of loans. So it's 8 unit. We don't do anything past 8 units, right? It's different categories. You got SFR condos, that's great. You got 2 to 4 multifamily, 5 to 8, and that's more of a commercial type of loan. So if you have a 5 to 8, just don't think you need to order appraisal just like a normal one. That's a little bit different criteria when you get into, that I guess kind of more of a commercial type of underwrite.
Awesome. Jonathan Mirabal again is asking another question. If current rents being received are less than market rents, which will the underwriting use on a refi scenario?
On a refi scenario, again, I wouldn't put in the lease agreements with the proof of rents, and it should be fairly close, right? Because here's the scenario I'm going to give you. I have a tenant in there, right, and I got the rents in there. Great. When did you sign that? It could be below market rents, right? Because that tenant's paying, hey, it's going month to month or whatever it is. But if you put it back on the market, it would get this for market rent. So we're able to use market rents in that scenario on a refinance, right? So I would, and I suggest this on when you do these, when you submit them in, right? You kind of just waiting to see what the rent survey is going to be, because that's going to be the determining factor. And then you look, well, it's renting more here. Because if it should be within 10%, right? The actual rents and market rent, somewhere there. And no one's perfect on this. Even if I get this appraisal with the 1007, right? I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
completely accurate because it's not many times. What data did they pull? If you look at appraisers, they don't have all the data for where investors market their rentals at. A lot of them use different website services. They're not using the NMLS features, right? They're MLS listings, right? And appraisers go there. Well, they don't have all that data, right? And so I go on there, kind of look at it, going, man, you messed up. The data's wrong. But if you had then the actual rents, because that would be more accurate based on that, then you'd use market rent, the actual rents. So kind of keep in mind that, but there shouldn't be some huge delta between the two. That's where I caution you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Ryder. Lori wants to know, my clients have been asking for loans for co-living homes. Any plans for having options for these?
Well, cold?
No,
Did you say cold?
co-living, co-living.
Co-living. Okay, like pad splits type of thing, right? And so some of the options are on this, right? And I get it because we don't like a lot of pad splits. You got number of, they change the doors, they share bathrooms and all this, and they can rent it out for a great amount, right? Especially if you're near a university, those type of things. So I'm not saying they're not something that the market needs, but those are very challenging. They usually have some type of work done to the home to make it fit and those type of things. So I think if they didn't do anything to the home, it's in the same condition as an SFR, didn't do anything, but I have two people in there, something like that, we might be able to look at. And so you'd have to give that scenario to the AE, and we can run that through credit before you submit it. Say, here's the scenario, here's what they do. We love to get in your scenarios on this. So it's hard for me to say no to that. All I can do is say, here's the caution side, and here's some things we
Right.
will do, right? So if you got alterations to the home, a whole bunch of people in and out, right? They're usually only 30-day leases with in and out. That's probably no. But there's some long-term people that live together. They got two. It's a regular house. One time I was at this company, and we used their apartment that they owned, and I loved the apartment because both of us were both coworkers, right? And they had the living quarters right in the middle, and the bedroom and bathroom on opposite sides. Man, what a great way to have two people living in the same place, and then they share the common grounds. I could see that makes sense, right? So, but if you're looking at a lot of the pad splits or multiple room rents on those are very challenging for us.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Mr. Ryder. April said, where can I find the types of properties that can be financed or the matrix?
It's another good question. We do have some program descriptions right in the portal. If you go to, what's that section called?
It's the
What's that?
resource center. The
Yeah, we have a resource center, and it'll have program descriptions with the type of properties that are allowed, right? And again, Carl took a lot of that, right? Covered that, but I mean, we're not shy of rural properties on this program. Again, it's
Right.
going to be nothing remote, right? You know what I mean by remote. It can be rural. We do those condo hotels, right? Non-warrantable condos, all these different things. But keep in mind, it's a make sense. When I look at properties, I really keep two concepts in mind, right? The first one is marketability, and you kind of know what's marketable. Will this generate interest out on the market at 90 days? Someone to buy it, right? That's kind of it is at a decent amount. If you're really remote somewhere where there's no employment within 50 miles, no hospitals, no real service, those are challenges. That'll affect the marketability, right? And then the legal aspect, is it legal, right? Do they do a lot of unpermitting things? Say they built an ADU with a full kitchen, non-permitted. Well, is it going to burn down? How do you know they even did it correctly, right? So those are the things that you need to be careful of. But if you kind of look at common sense approach, and I tell AEs this, it's right, and you guys know the same way. It's like when you go shop for a home, what do you do first? Right? It doesn't matter, investment property, whatever, or primary. You go look at it. You go on the web. You kind of look at that neighborhood. Okay,
Mhm.
this is a good place. What's the average rents here? What's the community like? You know, that's what you do first to kind of do the precursor, even before you do the get the appraisal out. You kind of look at it and go, this makes sense. I feel good about it. I understand the predominant value of this particular neighborhood, kind of fits with that, all that kind of stuff. No one actually, I've had a few say they do this. Whoever, I would say less than 0.1001% gets an appraisal before they go put an offer in on a house. You know what I mean? They're looking at it, does it fit the needs and that kind of stuff. And you kind of know that because everybody does their own research on that to figure out what it is. Anyway, it's no charge for that, right? So I'm just letting you know.
Knowledge, free knowledge. Thanks for Penny, you get free knowledge. Okay, Paulo has one more question. What is the lowest property condition accepted? C4, C3, and question mark. And what if the property has some minor repairs called by the appraiser? Can it be done after closing?
Wow. Okay, so there's a lot. I mean, I think I've seen a few C4, but I mean, I C3's got to be, probably the most dominant, right? Then minor repairs. Now, we're not going to have you fix the property after we do it. So I'm gonna talk it from this angle, right? So this angle is if the appraiser calls it out and takes a picture of it and says, "Look at this," probably going to have that repaired before we do the loan.
Yeah.
So anything called out on it is this. And I'm gonna tell you, if you get a property in poor condition, we're not going to do it, right? That's got too much work, right? So even though we're going to look at it for marketability, you also look at how many years remaining, right? You're going to look at that on the appraisal. Well, how many years remaining of life, economic life on this property? Those are things. So, this is not a review appraisal type of training. Maybe we should do that at some point. But when you just look at property condition, I always go this. Well, first look at appraisal. Man, pictures tell 1,000 words, don't they? I'm going, all right. Because, as a lender and for somebody buying or doing a loan on it, you'd want to see pride of ownership, right? That it's taken care of at a reasonable level. Those type of things are done. Minor repairs, we get that. If it's small and it's not subject to, probably just roll on down depending on LTV and those type and the characteristics of the loan. So this is very hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, but just kind of in general what it is.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Eileen wants to know if a client owns only one property for over 1 year, but is selling it before closing on a new DSCR purchase, would they still count as a seasoned investor?
I would say yes to that. I mean, they own a property, but again, Carl Carr mentioned it. We do first time home buyers on this program.
Yeah.
The real question is must be really looks like, hey, this is an investment property. They're not going to live in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it is. You're not trying to circumvent TRID or doing a program with it without a DTI or, ATR rules that you have to put in on those and not circumventing that. So those really aren't the criteria for it. The criteria is this truly investment property in that scenario? Right. So you go, what's the space between the house here, right? Those type of things.
Thank you for that, Mr. Ryder. Wow, great questions, right? I mean, we really, really active with the questions. This is amazing. Eileen did ask one thing with 20% down, I should add.
Yeah, we do 80% on
Yeah.
that. At 80%, you need above one DSCR, right? And so and a good FICO score, we need above 700, right? So somewhere in there. That's fine. Now, again, when I look at it, I try to look at the loan. I try to be a kind of adversary a little bit, and I want to kind of teach that a little bit. Is like, what could go wrong with this loan? Well, that's when I look at it, is like they're selling, and you're pointing it out here. They're selling their primary right? How can I come? Where are they going to live? I would get that down. So this is going to be investment property. They're selling their house. Where are they going to live now? If you don't have that clearly defined, the underwriter is going to be just spinning out, asking for LOEs. Give me the property. Did they put an escrow deposit or deposit down a new place they're going to live? All those things are going to come up. So I'm trying to teach you how to think about what are the conditions of this file given the scenario. And by the way, this is what our AEs do. Tell the scenario. Okay, they're going to go through this. Great. This is what we're going to do. Where are they going to live? Because that's going to be the question mark to prove that it is a true investment property. So you kind of iron those out so it goes through the system very quickly because you're already answering those before it's even submitted.
Exactly. And that's the importance of the synopsis, right? Telling the story. That way we know
Mhm.
exactly what's going on with
Tell
this
us
deal.
what's going on. You can see where Carl puts some weird scenarios on there I've never seen before. And when we're closing them, I guarantee you the underwriter asks why. The LO did a great job of explaining why this is investment property, what's happening with it. And by the way, I've seen those before, so it's not that unusual. As you know, again, I'm getting older. You have investment properties. What are you going to do with those? You're going to wait if you're, Lord forbid, we all die at some point, but that could happen. They're looking at that. Maybe I'll start passing off some investment properties to my heirs early. Okay, I could buy that, right? You can too, right? 'Cause that makes sense. That looks like that scenario was what it was, right? Even though it's a little bit things different. So thank you guys for attending. I guess it's go Argentina. That's the overall thing. So I guess that I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess my dart just landed there just because. But thank you guys again. Albert will, our marketing team and with Albert will get this deck out to you and the recording. And one person, I guess, on our website says it's not there, but we are on a YouTube channel. Please like it. I know we got at least two that subscribe to the YouTube channel. As two of my granddaughters.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for participating with your questions. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.